Hi, this is Kathy Fox Alfano for Upper Cape Spotlight, Why Should We Vote for You edition. Today we are speaking with Ron Bergstrom. He's from Chatham. He is an incumbent and candidate for the Barnstable County Commissioner. Welcome, and thank you for taking the time out of your busy campaign to talk with us.
Well, thank you for having me.
So you are running in the Democratic primary. Early voting is open now. Mail-in ballots have been received, and Election Day is just Tuesday, September 1st. It's very early and it's very soon. So please listen and get out and vote. So first, Ron, tell us, just what does the County Commission do?
All right, the county commissioners are the executive branch of Barnstable County. We hire the administrator, some of the department heads. We oversee policy. We basically put together a budget that we submit to the assembly, and we meet twice a month. And we have various functions that in regard to making sure a county runs efficiently, cost effectively, and that we do the job that we have in front of us, and we provide the services that and the programs that we are supposed to provide. So it is a top-down organization, and the three commissioners are right there at the executive branch.
Do you control money?
Well, yes, we have a $30 million budget, and we cobbled that together, and we submitted. Actually, it's created by the administration with our priorities in mind. But yeah, we put together the budget. It contains $20 million of an operating budget, but it also contains $10 million of state and federal grants that we apply for and receive for various programs, Children's Cove. And the County Dredge and the Shine program. So we have the AmeriCorps volunteers. So all of that are funds that come down from the federal government through the state to Barnstable County, and that's included in our budget, which we put together. And as a matter of fact, we'll be doing it pretty soon, I think.
Okay. How do you differ and work with the Assembly of Delegates?
Well, I served on the Assembly of Delegates for 12 years, and I was Speaker for 8 of those years, so I'm very familiar with the Assembly. I think that I personally work very well with the Assembly because I know the members, although there is some turnover, and I think they respect me because I was part of their organization for so long. There is give and take. They are the financial oversight of the county, and they look very carefully at the budget and determine what is absolutely necessary. But by and large, over the last few years, there hasn't been too much of a concern. There are some programs that maybe we look at more carefully than others, but so far the budget process is done pretty well. And I'm in contact with the members of the Assembly. I consider some of them as longstanding colleagues and friends, and so it's been good. There's been some bumps in the road. There was some controversy over the ARPA funds, the American Rescue Plan Act funds, as to who had the jurisdiction to expend those funds and how. But I was the chairman of the commissioners then. I went back and forth with the Assembly. Ultimately, we did come to a compromise, and the funds went forward, and we put, I think, $11 million toward affordable housing. We put $5 million toward human service agencies, and we did a lot. And we upgraded our labs, so now people can have their water tested. If you're concerned about the health of your drinking water, you can bring it to the lab. So, no, it's been, there's a give and take in every organization, but I think I'm as good as anybody at making things happen and bringing together compromises.
How long have you been a commissioner?
This will be my second term, so it'll be 8 years at the end of this year. Okay.
And do you often vote 3-0, or is there, debate among the three people, or?
There is debate. There is debate among the three people. Fortunately, we have 3 liberal Democrats, myself, Sheila Lyons, and Mark Forrest. We've known each other for many years, and even though there are, every so often there's something will be a 2-to-1 vote. But by and large, I think that we are on the same page in moving the county forward in a progressive fashion and, providing services to the people of Cape Cod. So we'll see. It could be that tomorrow we'll argue over something, but not so far. It's been good.
Okay. Well, Sheila is from Wellfleet, and Mark is from, is it Yarmouth?
Yarmouth, yes.
And you're from Chatham?
Yes.
Right. So how do you represent the Upper Cape, especially Bourne?
Well, the fact that I'm from Chatham really has nothing to do with it. I have covered the whole Cape for the last 8 years. and I'm in touch with people in Bourne as much as I am in Chatham. The commissioners represent every town from Provincetown to Bourne, and we're aware of the issues that are facing. Very aware of the bridge issues, the funding on the bridge.
Yeah.
We're aware of, for instance, our county dredge goes and dredges estuaries. We're aware when we are asked to come into Bourne and take care of some, navigational issues. So we provide shellfish stock for all the towns under that program. We have AmeriCorps volunteers actually live in Bourne. They have a Bourne house here. So, you can ask me, how do I represent Bourne? You can ask me how I represent B-Town. How do I represent, Barnstable? But I represent everybody. I mean, I'm a Cape Codder, and I understand the issues that people face. I lived here for 50 years. I've had a number of occupations. I worked in restaurants. I'm aware of the hospitality industry. I've worked in construction. I know people who are tradesmen and stuff like that. So, no, I mean, I think I have a very eclectic view of Cape Cod and the people who live in it.
Okay. So I believe you have said in the past that like wastewater and housing
Right.
and affordability are your priorities, but those subjects are important. But here in Bourne, they pale in comparison to the Bourne Bridge project. I realize the new bridges are way overdue and essential for all Cape Cod residents and visitors, but only Bourne is impacted every day, all day. Are you aware of like the traffic nightmares that we get all through and beyond the summer, where folks can't even get out of their street or in some cases their driveways? And a trip to Market Basket takes 10 times longer than it should. We can't even run out to get something we forgot, like everybody else in Massachusetts. How do you plan to ensure that Bourne has a seat at the table, receives mitigation, and is able to survive on a daily basis with all the noise pollution, traffic nightmares, and environmental impacts of the Cape Cod Bridges replacement?
Well, here's an example where we have to partner with our state and local and even federal officials, because they're really in charge of the bridge and they're in charge of the access to the bridge. The Cape Cod Commission, of which I'm also a member and which is under the umbrella of Barnstable County, has done traffic studies and taken an advisory role in how the traffic should be diverted during the time of construction. As far as the traffic nightmares around the Cape, I mean, I go to Market Basket even from Chatham, but I don't do it in the summer because I can't get there. No, I wish I had an answer for you. And, Barnstable County does a lot of wonderful things, but what we don't do is we don't control the number of cars on the road. Ultimately, we're going to have to decide how many people can live here and whether they can actually function on a daily basis as the population increases, as the traffic increases, as the density increases. Those are big issues, and I am definitely a part of those issues, but I'm just a part of it. Your congressional representation, Dylan Fernandez and to Mr. Tom Moakley, and all those people, and the Barnstable County Commissioners, and your local officials here in Bourne, Peter Meyer and so on, are all working together to try to make sure that the transition to the new bridges are as practical and as easy as it possibly can be. But there's no easy solution.
No.
And I have to say, I sympathize with people. If you live outside of an urban area, let's say Boston or New York, and you have to commute, you oftentimes wind up getting stuck in traffic every day. I think we're lucky. This is going to be an issue, but by and large, we can deal with it, and we don't have to deal with it every day. We don't have to deal with it in the winter. So.
I hope so. We'll see. Do you have any solutions for, right now, as far as I know, they don't even know how they're going to get traffic from the Bourne Bridge. They're getting rid of the traffic circle on this side, and they've proposed everything from, this is no joke, stop sign, a light, where the traffic will be backed up to Carver, but anyway, and then 3 little rotaries. And then it all funnels into 1 lane on Sandwich Road until it opens up back up to Mid-Cape Highway.
Talking about 1 lane in each direction?
Yes, 1 lane in each direction. So this does not work. And it makes, like I said, life so difficult for the Bourne population. Do you have any solutions for that?
Well, I mean, the same solution I just spoke about is basically getting together with the town of Bourne, the Army Corps of Engineers, our state delegation, and engineers, traffic engineers, and we have people who are traffic professionals on the Cape Cod Commission and trying to work out solutions. I mean, I am not a traffic engineer.
No, I know.
I understand that, and we stand ready to help in any way we can, but I'm not going to kid you. It's not going to be easy during that time, and it's going to call for cooperation on all people.
But you don't know of anything that's been done so far to alleviate the traffic.
You know, most of the concentration right now has been the Sagamore Bridge because it's the one that's funded right now. So we take one. I say this the Bourne Bridge is right now is a bridge too far for us. We have to make sure that we do the Sagamore. Meanwhile, we're trying to make sure that the funds for the Bourne Bridge go through the process and we get them. We wait until that signature is on the paper and we're going to get those funds. So I know it's important.
Well, it works the other way too. People coming from off the Sagamore down to Bourne or to Falmouth, so it works both ways. But
yeah, I digress, but I had relatives coming up from New York. And they were visiting during the height of the summer, and they were coming up 25, and my wife gave them a panicky phone call, and they say, go over the bridge first, and then go up. Well, they didn't get the message.
Oh.
And they probably spent about an hour and a half getting between until they finally went up and got onto the Sagamore Bridge. So it's people, and also my wife has a map in front of her, tells you where the traffic issues are. It's very helpful.
Yes.
See what you're going into before you head down the road.
Right.
It's going to take a cooperation and patience from a lot of people.
Yeah. Okay. What is your position on the machine gun range at the Joint Base? Yes, it's back again. Do you?
Well, that's an easy one because the last meeting we took a stand to oppose it, to send a message and to oppose it. So yeah, Cape Cod's got a very unique aquifer. It's already impacted by many things, and we don't need one more potential source of pollution up there. And besides, there's no reason why it should be there. It could be almost anywhere.
Right.
Do
you believe there should be a pilot program for Bourne since most of the base is in our town?
A pilot?
Yes, a pilot program is payment in lieu of taxes. Right now, we have both the base and Mass Maritime.
Yeah.
Between the two, they take up I'm going to say 40% of the town, and we get nothing in terms of taxes. And this hurts us because this fall, we're looking at an override potentially at our town meeting.
Yeah.
None of that would be true if we just got anywhere close to what we should be getting, for these two state or federal, agencies that are taking up a lot of room. Mass Maritime, it's a great school and all, but they've been buying up the parking lots in downtown Buzzards Bay, so it's harder for, the restaurants and stores to have parking for their, people, and it's a problem. And so that's why I'm looking at, can we get a what they call a pilot program? They're done all over the place, but not here.
Well, Massachusetts is a home rule state, and the taxes are imposed by the towns.
Right.
So it's really up to the town of Bourne whether they want to do that. I mean, all Barnstable County can do, and it's important these days, is sit back and promise that we're not going to tax anybody any more than it's already taxed. All right. We try to live within our means, and we don't try to impose any further obligations on anyone else. The town of Bourne's going to have to make that decision. Individual towns do a residential tax exemption. I don't know if you have that here. But as far as getting nonprofits and schools and the base, which is the federal government, to pay taxes, that's going to take your town officials, going to take your legislative delegation in Washington to make that happen. And it's not going to be easy. So once again, I'm not sitting here to try to make promises that I can't follow up on. These are big issues. But we all have to stay in our lane, because to tell people that you're going to do something that you can't do is a mistake. You have to be honest, and to be honest is the traffic is a big problem. The fact that the base doesn't pay taxes and neither does the WHOI pay taxes is a big problem as well.
Yeah. What is your position on the proposed Bourne Rail to Trail bike path?
I'm a biker, and I like bike paths. When I was a selectman in Chatham, there was an unfinished spur of the bike path, Harwich Chatham spur, and it ended in the Harwich line in the woods. And I asked why that is, and they said, well, you know, the state won't build it any further. There's issues. So I called up the state and I said, what's the problem? They said, oh, we're fine with it. It's your town that doesn't do it. So of course I was on the selectmen then, so I yelled and screamed, and I beat the bushes, and finally we did get the rail trail extended all the way into Chatham. I like bikes. I don't know, particularly, I know there's people who think maybe you could restore rail traffic to Bourne, and to be honest with you, I also was responsible partly for the establishment of the Cape Flyer when I was chair of the Regional Transit Authority, along with Tom Cahir,
Yes.
the late Tom Cahir. We hired him, and he was a good friend, and he did wonders for transportation on the Cape.
Yeah.
But so I have supported both rail transportation and bike transportation. So I don't know, maybe we can have that's up to the people. That's up to the people of Bourne whether they want to have that. I don't know if you'll ever extend rail transportation any further than it is, but bike paths are good. They're good for the environment, and they're good for people's health.
Yes, for sure. And it's going to be severely curtailed with the bridge project.
Yeah, well,
So we need someplace to go to ride. Yeah.
I think it'll be eventually, though. It'll come after they finish the project. You'll be able to take that. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what else have you been able to accomplish for the Upper Cape?
Well, you know, right now we're looking at a feasibility study to establish a composting facility at Joint Base Cape Cod, which would divert half of the waste from the organic waste from the Cape. Now, I know Bourne has its own facility, but it's
Yes.
getting very close to it. You know, sooner or later it's going to be filled up.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
some of the off-Cape options are rapidly closing, and it's getting more and more expensive. So 30% of the waste stream is, you know, your food scraps and stuff like that. If we can divert that to a compost facility, which actually produces a saleable product, that would save the towns 30% of the cost of their what they call the tipping fees, which are the fees they are charged to ship the off-Cape. So we're doing that. Of course, like we just previously mentioned, we're opposing the firing range at the base. My wife is a civil engineer. She works at the base on the cleanup, so I'm quite aware of all the issues of you know, PFAS and so on. But
Right.
they're doing a good job there with even after the historical abuses in the past. You know, like I say, I cover the whole Cape. All of the programs that we produce, Children's Cove, the Dredge, AmeriCorps, our extension services, all of those are available all over the Cape, including, and probably more so here because you have a bigger population than, let's say, Provincetown or Wellfleet.
Right.
You know,
So you have stated that housing is a priority, which I agree with. Is it affordable housing or workforce housing that we most need? What are you trying to sort of go after?
you know that you use those terms, and I've heard them a lot over 20 years. Affordable, workforce. There seems to be some kind of delineation between the two, but we're trying to get housing for people who have jobs, who make a decent living, as well as people who are, you know, living on the margins. I think that the definition of affordability is too low. I think that if Bourne is looking for 10% affordability to get out from under the requirements of Chapter 40B, that should include a lot of more housing than it does right now. You know, I mean, a family of two making $120,000, very difficult to find a house here on Cape Cod. You know, and yet they probably would not be eligible for an affordable house. So we have to change that definition. I'm not a big fan of Chapter 40B. I don't think we get enough bang for our buck when we build, you know, that much market rate housing as compared to affordability. I think we should concentrate on all affordable housing. You know, I really am not. Although this area of the Cape is not so much as sensitive as we are out in Chatham, but by and large, I'm against the big 200, 300 unit projects. I think they're anachronistic to how we think of Cape Cod. You know, I think smaller projects, which are admittedly more expensive, even if they have a public dimension. But you know, it's a big issue. But I don't want people to forget that we are doing stuff now. We are doing things. Each town is doing stuff. I mean, they're having projects. They have affordable housing task force. They have using Community Preservation Act money. So I think stuff is getting done, but the biggest issue that I've faced in the last 6 months, and actually in the last 10 years, is the balance between the need for housing and the need to protect our environment. Yep. That's and people oftentimes fall on either side, but I'm sort of in the middle. I think we can do both. I think we can build housing.
I think we have to.
And I think we can protect our environment.
Right.
I mean, redevelopment is a word. I mean, it's a buzzword, but it really works. There's a lot of retail and industrial space that is now going vacant. Mm-hmm. I mean, because of Amazon, and other things. That can be converted to housing. Like to have housing on public transportation routes. Mm-hmm. I'd like to have housing that is close to facilities, not off in the woods somewhere, but close to someone who can walk to the market. It's an issue. I've been dealing with that issue for 20 years, and I have a record behind me of doing that as a Chatham selectman, building affordable housing and pushing the envelope. So as much as I can do as a county commissioner and also as a member of the Cape Cod Commission, I will do. Okay. But it takes, once again, it's another issue to take cooperation across the board, from town officials to our legislative delegation. And to the obstacles to affordable housing, money is not on the top of the list. The first thing is the lack of available space. All right, we only have less than 15% of available space here that's not either developed or under conservation. The second thing is zoning. I mean, we are residentially zoned in most areas of the Cape, and people like that. They don't want they live in a cul-de-sac. They don't want 3 or 4 more houses in the cul-de-sac. So, and I understand that. And I always say, I sympathize with the people who want to live here, but I represent the people who live here now. And so that's the second thing. And the third thing is public support. I have unfortunately seen at town meetings up by my way, affordable housing projects have been voted down. And I think some of them are good projects, but people are so poisoned by these big 40B projects that they have a tendency to vote against all affordable housing, which is a mistake. So we have to bring the public on board to support some of the housing projects that are proposed. And then lastly is money, public money. And people have to understand that a lot of the projects, especially the big projects, 400 units, don't have a big element of public money. They're financially viable because of how many units they have. So
I'm actually on the Bourne Affordable Housing Trust, and
okay.
We do have one of those 300 unit or more. But it's off of Scenic Highway, which again will add to the traffic there. Yeah. But it is not in a neighborhood. It's on its own.
Well, I voted for, and you say this, but I voted for the project on the west end of Hyannis as a member of the Cape Cod Commission. They were going to build 300 apartments. Some market rate, some affordable, and there were environmentalists who said, you're losing open space. Well, the open space was the golf course. It wasn't pristine space, and it was right close to available. I mean, we have to give some, some compromise to the fact that we do need housing, and we need housing. You asked me originally between affordable and workforce. We need housing for people who are making almost up to $200,000. I'm talking about a family, a couple have a hard time finding a place to live.
I know.
And also, we can find ways to subsidize the people as well as the houses. We can. The governor has a program where they provide $25,000 in low or no interest loans for people, first-time home buyers.
Yep.
I'd like to see the county do something similar. It's right now. It's in the study phase. I don't shoot out these ideas with a press release. I actually ask people if it works and it's financially viable. And so that initiative by the governor ended in July, and I'll get the feedback within a short time and find out whether it's viable to have the county have a similar program. Okay. Because a few dollars for people sitting in a bank looking at a loan officer, a few dollars either way, whether it's a residential tax exemption or a soft second mortgage, it can make a big difference between getting a mortgage and not getting a mortgage.
Right. Another big problem here, can the Commission do anything to help bring down our ever-rising utility costs? Should we have a regional solar farm, or get in on the wind energy or anything like that? It's too bad we can't harness energy from all the traffic. Come up with something like that. Well, but really, is there anything we can do?
Well, I put solar panels on my roof about 10 years ago, and it's been a big plus to us. You know, not only we get away from the guilt of having a carbon footprint, but it saves us money and stuff, and I would encourage people to do that. We thought about putting a solar array on the parking lot at the county complex up there. We ran afoul of historic commissions. It is historic property. Be honest with you, I think that, and you know, I'm not going to criticize the administration or the legislature too much, but I think that they have allowed the utility companies to charge too much for us. And you know, oftentimes it's a balance, because you have initiatives from forced initiatives on the electric companies to provide, you know, for housing, to provide new appliances, to provide green appliances, and to change, and all of that is put onto our electric bill, you know.
Right.
And so, you know, it's a cost benefit analysis. You know, yes, it's good to be green, and yes, it's nice to have someone pay for a better refrigerator than you have now. But then when you get your electric bill, it's higher. And you know, I come from a very, very modest background, and in my family, it was rent, food, and utilities. Mm-hmm. Those are the big three. Now, I don't know how that is for most people now, but to many people, those utility bills are an issue that they have to pay,
and they keep
every
going
month,
up.
And it gets worse and worse.
Yeah.
And you know, I'm not a big fan of the utility companies. I think the state has control over that. You know, we the commissioners can weigh in, just like we weighed in on the firing range, and say we support, you know, holding the utility companies to the feet to the fire and keeping them lower. Mm-hmm. But you know, even at some point, I know the Cape Light Compact was subsidizing a lot of solar arrays, and I certainly support solar arrays. I have one, but you know, we have to understand that we want to keep the utility bills as low as possible. That should be the top priority, keeping people's bills low. You know.
How does the public get involved with your decision making? Do we have a voice?
Well, first of all, they vote.
Yes,
That is the top of the list. They vote for me, and they vote for the members of the assembly, and they vote for my fellow two commissioners. You know, every meeting that we have is televised and videos. Every agenda is posted. You know, you have to face, when you're in my position, you have to face the fact that a lot of people have lives, and they have families, and they have things to do, and they don't necessarily follow the issues as closely as they can. But we do. Barnstable County does everything we can to reach out to the public to let them know what we're doing. There's public comment at every meeting. Mm-hmm. They can weigh in. You know, my two opponents are weighing in very, very vocally, you know, and they have people who support their positions as people support my position. So now, as we go into election, people have a chance to say what do they think Barnstable County should be doing. You know, what we're doing right, what we're doing wrong. And I hope we're not doing too much wrong, but you know, I listen to those things. I mean, I'm here year-round. I live in Cape Cod, you know, and I have lived in Cape Cod for 50 years among the people here. And I talk to them not just when I'm a commissioner sitting in a meeting, but I talk to them when I see them at the supermarket. I talk to them when I see them on the street. I yell at them when I'm on the clam flats, you know, back and forth as to what they think, and they're very, very blunt about what they want. So yeah, it's a process of communication. It's a process of being part of the community for a long time, and you know, keeping your ear to the ground and making sure that everyone, if they wish, can go online and they can find out everything that Barnstable County does and every dime that we spend.
Okay. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
No, just I think that, you know, that I have learned over the course of the time that I've spent in public office that you start out with wonderful ideas, the things you want to do, but nobody's a king, at least not yet. And you can't just impose your will on people. You have to understand how to negotiate. You have to understand how to compromise. You understand how to develop the relationships that are necessary to see initiative moving. And I think that's I think is probably the most valuable thing I bring to the role of county commissioner. I have a relationship with the assembly, with my fellow commissioners. I have a relationship with our legislative delegation. I regularly attend the Selectmen and Councilors meetings, the Cape Cod Municipal Leaders Association meetings every month, where we discuss the issues that are common to the 15 towns. So it's a more than just a few meetings a week. It's really a comprehensive look at what Cape is facing, what ideas are coming up, and what solutions we can impose.
Well, thank you so much for talking with me, Ron, and letting the viewers know what you represent and how they can cast their vote on September 1st, which is very early and very soon. Please pay attention. Thank you again. This is Kathy Fox Alfano for Upper Cape Spotlight. Why should we vote for you? Thank you for watching and for voting.